computer. Right, here we go. We're going to study some astrology today, and hopefully Skype will cooperate and get a screen up. All right, let's look at, what do I want to show you first? Well, let's just look at, oh gosh, okay, let's just look at the chart, the transits. We got something to look at while we talk a little bit about, here we go, about things. All right, let's stick this here. And if you cannot see my screen, let me know. Please pipe in, let me know. I just wanted you to look at something. And part of what we're going to look at today, we're going to look at Aquarius because we're just, new into the sign of Aquarius. Today's the 25th of January, and it went in 5 days ago. So it is on, we're at about 5 degrees into the sign today. So you can see that at the sun right there. It says 5 degrees, 52 minutes is when I ran this. So it's pretty soon going to click into 6 degrees. So we see the little sign of Aquarius there. We also see Saturn there in Aquarius. And we can also see probably the new thing for this week, or what's happening this week in astrology. Mercury just slipped into Aquarius. Look at there, 0 degrees. Well, I don't want to say slipped, I should say slipped back. Okay, so it already went through, and then now it's going back. So it's going to be, it's going to retrograde. When is it going to go direct? It's going to go back into Capricorn. There we go. 24 degrees back. It's going to turn direct on the 4th. So when is that? Next, I have next week's calendar. Yeah, next week. So the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, like what, Thursday, I think Thursday. So Mercury will probably notice that it'll be slowing down. So we can see right now, here we go. 0 degrees. You see how it's slowing down. When did it hit 0? And then it's going to go 29. Let me go back. Tomorrow, there we go, 26. It's hard to see. Okay, so it's slipping back into, well, from there it was, let me go back and see how far did it go in before it moved around. Mercury, 10 degrees. All right, so what happened with Mercury? So we're looking at that when we see something, and I just had to look in the ephemeris to see when it was 10 degrees. It had progressed all the way over to 10, so it almost made it towards Saturn, and then it retrograded, and now it's all the way back to 0. It's about ready to go back into Capricorn. Thank you. Here, so Mercury's about ready to change. You see that 0, and we notice that it's going retrograde because we see the little R there. So it's going backward, retrograde, and we know that it's about a 3-week thing, about 3 times a year. So we're more than halfway through. All right, so it's going to turn direct. What did I say it was? It's going to turn direct on the 4th. All right, so a week from this Friday, and it'll retrograde back to 24 degrees. So it means that it's going to go back over Pluto. And let me see, when does it hit Pluto? This would be good to note. 26 degrees on Saturday, this Saturday. Get my magnifying glass, I'll tell you exactly. Yeah. So this Saturday, the 29th, it retrogrades back and it hits Pluto again. Boom. So we can expect some more information to come out, which things are, Mercury over Pluto, it's bringing up the depths of hell. It's the messenger now going, this stuff's going on, that stuff's going on. And then it'll go over it again. So this is very interesting. I really like looking at the mundane astrology to see kind of what's happening for everybody. All right, see if it goes back, and then it'll hit it again on the 10th of February. It'll hit that degree going forward, that 26 degrees of Pluto. So it's kind of ding, ding. It's kind of like plucking a guitar string, boing, boing. So we think what the planet is, excuse me, and the conversation that it's having. So any type of conversation that's a conjunct right next to it. It's intense. Mercury and Pluto are having a serious talk. They're talking, Pluto is sharing a lot of secrets that Mercury is bringing up. And this is really, really interesting because this ties in totally with what I want to talk about today with Aquarius. So we just moved into Aquarius, and we know that it's a fixed sign, and we know that it is a positive sign, positive, negative, male, female, so whatever you want to say it. So it'd be a male sign or positive, which is outward. And then we know it's an air sign. So let's kind of think about this, talk about this. And then I want to go into the rulership. It's traditionally ruled, by Saturn, but more commonly now by Uranus. And we're going to explore this a little bit because we just have all this back and forth. Uranus, Saturn, Uranus, Saturn, Saturn, Uranus, Saturn, Uranus, Uranus, Saturn. You see with Mercury going bang, bang, bang right in here at this Aquarius Saturn area. It's, the sun is going to soon go over Saturn in Aquarius, and then Mercury. It's all like this back and forth with this. So let's look at this and explore. You bring it up now so I don't trip off on it and forget to say it. How the dichotomy of these rulers in one sign, it's always tripped me up thinking about that. It's like, all right, Aquarius is all these things. I'm gonna give you some definitions. I found some cool stuff in a few books that I really like and authors. But they have it as, Aquarius with the modern ruler of Uranus, which we know is like kind of revolutionary. But it's got the traditional ruler of Saturn, which is traditional. So how can it have both? So we're going to look at that. So that's kind of always, intrigued me about this. And I look at both whenever I look at a chart. I look wherever I see Aquarius, I look at both, the modern ruler Uranus and the traditional ruler Saturn. All right. So that being said, you can look at this. So this is a book from Kevin Burke. It's called Astrology, Understanding the Birth Chart. I'll just put it up here. Kevin Burke, pretty good one. A lot of cool stuff in here. But he says in Aquarius, I like this. Aquarius is a fixed sign. And I like how he separates this out with the fixed part and then the air part. So as the fixed sign, Aquarius is involved in sustaining and maintaining what has been created and initiated before. As a fixed sign, Aquarius is also fundamentally concerned with the question of self-worth. As an air sign now, on the other hand, as an air sign, Aquarius operates in the intellectual, mental, and social realm. Aquarius is an idea-oriented. It is idea-oriented and abstract. Aquarius then is concerned with establishing a sense of social, mental, and intellectual self-worth. Okay, that's cool. I got that. The sense of social self-worth is derived from membership in groups of our own choosing. Okay, in other words, Aquarius finds validation through acceptance by one's peers. All right, that's kind of cool. Now here's the fun dichotomy now. Although astrologers consider the planet Uranus to be the ruler of Aquarius and support this because Aquarius's tendency to be revolutionary and unconventional, Aquarius is traditionally ruled by the planet Saturn, which governs all limitations, structures, and responsibilities. Aquarius is in fact particularly concerned with the rules of society, or at least with the rules and structures that define a given group. Aquarius is not by nature revolutionary, although Aquarius will fight to the death for personal freedom. That personal freedom must be supported and protected by rules and social structures. We must remember that anarchy is not the same thing as freedom. The energy of Uranus is an expression of anarchy and exists simply to disrupt any and all structures, to break up Saturn manifestations and illusions. Aquarius only seeks to disrupt those structures that do not support personal freedom and equality, and will fight to support and preserve those structures that do. So that, I think, is kind of maybe the little key statement in that. It's that amalgamation of being able to keep the good bones, keep the good structure, and throw out what isn't necessary anymore. And as we go through life, there's so much stuff that just accumulates. Stuff just comes in, and you have to get rid of stuff, or else something happens and it gets rid of itself for you. Sometimes suddenly. So that being said, it's interesting now to note where this energy is in all of our charts, whether you have anything in Aquarius or not. But we're going to also separate out a little bit what this means is like kind of like your sun, moon, and rising. And we'll go through that we'll try to look at it in a few different, we'll comb it out in a few different ways. But transit here, whoever this is, baby transit, just born, has Aquarius. It's on Tracy's birthday. Has Aquarius 8th house, on the 8th house cusp. They have 5 degrees Aquarius, whoever. So that, that, and there's sun there. So that energy in that sector. So we have that. That would be that revolutionary, group-minded, get rid of the old. I mean, keep the old, but replace it with new things, kind of energy in their 8th house. And that might be how they approach sex. It might be their money with their spouse. It may be their revolutionary tax, redo, that kind of energy. And then especially with Sun and Saturn there. So that's, we've got almost a conjunct there. They're not quite, it's 8 degrees off, 9 degrees off. But Saturn would being here would kind of give it more of that structure and boundaries. And then the sun being there, it's probably kind of on that person's persona. Anyway, Mercury is kind of bringing up that with, it's in the 7th house. So that might be how they partner. Look at, and then whoever is born with this stuff and coming into a few days from now, the kid's born with this. Just think about that for a second. We're going to have, Mercury conjunct Pluto. There's going to be some interesting children, interesting people. How revolutionary, can you imagine what they're going to be speaking about, 10 years from now, people that are going to be born with Mercury close to Pluto. That's pretty interesting in these signs right here, because Mercury goes around, it does its dance around there and it crosses that. But with this, when it's this close, and then this is also near the United States' Pluto return. So they may be really outspoken for the cause. Anyway, just interesting to see coming up. And then look at this. We got the march of these planets coming forward. Look at Mars now has just gone into Capricorn. You see it's direct. So it just went in there. It's going to go 1 degree tomorrow. And its approach toward Venus. Venus is still retrograde. But it will be like, oh, I'm backing, and it's going to kind of run away from Mars. Mars will come and catch it. And then they will both cross into Aquarius. I think it was March, did we say March 2nd? And they'll both be at 0 degrees Aquarius. All right, March. Yeah, I think so. It's hard to see right now. I can't see it, but I know we covered that. But anyway, they're going to have a little significant crossover. Oh yeah, that's right. They do a couple things. Yeah, they go into the next sign, but then they also cross over Pluto. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, they're going to be at. Yep, they're going to be like at 20. Right, it's going to be on March 2nd, and they're going to cross over Pluto at 26, 27 degrees there, and then later on that month they'll join up and march into the next sign. All right, so that's all being said. Neat stuff that's coming up. We'll kind of stop there because we can just get so into what's going on, but it's very pertinent to what this actually is. Now let me stop share and give you a different share and a different one. All right, let's go over to body part, and I think you can see this. I like this. This was from this Elite Daily, and they have, they went through other signs. We'll go through a few more in just a second, but I liked how this just gave you, I want to give you some things to stick in your head. So Aquarius, ankles the shins circulatory system. Where's one other book I want to share? Let me read this one, and then I've got a few more on this for you. So, you know, Pisces is the end, right? So Pisces is the feet. And then Aries is the beginning, Aries is the head. You know, then you go Taurus would be like neck, you know, and then Gemini, lungs, breasts, you know, we'll go, your shoulders, arms, two things, you know, and then all of those middle signs with all the digestive stuff, which we'll go through one by one, but just want to give you some hooks here, mental hooks. And then coming down, we've got the hips, there's a Sagittarius, and we've got, go back up here. Got the joints. This was kind of interesting, you know, because we go from the hips to the sort of the knees. So knees and bones would be the Capricorn, which is kind of lends itself then into ankles and the circulatory system. So let me read this. Aquarius can be nervous sign, although their nervousness is more an outward kind, being that their bodies can't always keep up with the activity of their minds. The ankles are the joints that connect the entire upper body to the feet, which connect the body to the earth. And like the ankles, an Aquarian is like a human go-between for life on earth and in space. Is it any wonder Aquarius is the most terrestrial sign of all? They may as well be interpreting signals from faraway planets. All right, this is kind of cool thinking about it in that light. So keep that thought and let me give you what Judith Hill says about Aquarius. So ankles, shins, Venus circulation shared with Venus, Venus, I should say Venus, shared with Venus. The oxygenation of the blood shared with Gemini. Generally, quality of the blood and the little known electrical system of the body. Some authors cite the rods and cones of the eye is under the dominion of this sign. You think that's an Aries? You'd think, but there's probably in the embryology, the way the little germ, you know, subdivides, and then you get the little forming, it's not even look a fetus yet. It looks like a, you know, looks like a salamander or something. So when those nerves and stuff start coming out, you know, that whole facial part starts coming out with the spine. So it's probably where it's connected there like that. Let's see if I can find those pictures someday. All right, rods, cone of the eyes, under the dominant system. Cornell gives the pyramid tract of the spinal cord to this sign. The sign with Sagittarius greatly influences the spine nerves, where Leo governs the spinal sheaths. All right, so thinking about ankles, shins, the return blood flow. Now this is interesting, the Venus blood flow, and I would think this would probably be how you would correlate this. You have Aquarius is one sign, and you have to also think about its opposite. This is how a lot of times in medical astrology works. So opposite of Aquarius is Leo, and Leo rules the heart or the blood going outward. So Aquarius would be the opposite sign, or the Venus return going back to the heart. So there's your opposites. And we'll kind of stress those when we look at the medical astrology of the others, but think about that, you know, Leo's outward and then the Venus return. So that is, you know, what they were saying about the blood oxygenation. When it comes back, you know, it's been giving up its oxygen and now it's getting less oxygenated as it gets closer to the heart, ready to be fully oxygenated and pumped back out again. So that's where, how did she term it? Let me read that again. The oxygenation of the blood. Wish they would expound on that. I'll have to go look up Cornell. He's and get that book. That's where deeper stuff is written in medical astrology. It's kind of written in that old English stuff. But anyway, it's oxygenated and then it's going out, and then it has to be, you know, the oxygen is dealt with, it's being in use. How about there we go. It's being used, it's being given off and utilized, and then just collected back and brought back to reoxygenate. Okay, so that's how that one moves around. Let me give you another one. Let's look at moon, sun, moon, and rising. I will also send you this file, and you should see this, this saying sun, moon, and rising signs here. If you don't, let me know. Okay, so I thought this was good. I summed it up. I found some things that sum this up, and then we'll separate it out, because this is sometimes where things get wonky when you're looking at astrology. What's different? So we're looking at what the qualities of Aquarius are, and now I've got some, yeah, here it is. I found some good keywords in some books here, but let me read a little bit of this at first. The sun sign shows what you want. What you want. Moon sign, what you need. And your rising sign shows how you're going to get it. I thought that was pretty good. I like these simple things, at least to start with, and then we can hang more stuff on that. So while the sun represents the core of yourself, the moon represents your inner self. You can think of your rising sign as being representative of your outer self. It's like, this is me. Yep. The sun, your sun sign describes the center of your personality, what motivates and drives you, who you're learning to be. Just as the sun is the center of the solar, oh, that's hard. Just as the sun is the center of the solar system. Your sun sign represents the core of who you are. Astrologically speaking, the sun in a natal chart is the luminary that symbolizes one's vital life force, spirit, intellect, and identity. So if somebody's got this, if somebody has their sun in Aquarius, they will be much more outwardly Aquarian, is their core energy. You may not always see it at first, which is, we're going to look at the rising sign. Here we go. This is good. Being the only star amongst the other 9 spheres that our Earth mingles with in space, the sun is the symbol of centeredness, illumination, and life. Without it, we cease to exist. All right. Let me give you some of these key words, so then it'll make more sense as we go back and forth. So I'm going to give you both positive side and then negative side. It's kind of good to think about that way, because, you know, in all signs you get the balance, the good side, and then it gets over just like edgy. So positive side, truth seeking, intellectual, scientific, or abstract and coolly logical. It could be just like too logical, like just cut and dry. Friendly, brotherly, humane, kind, people-oriented, impersonal, detached, aloof, distant, remote, uninvolved. Tolerant, open-minded, unprejudiced, intolerant of intolerance. I like that one.
That was my conversation with you before this all started. I was feeling very intolerant of intolerance.
I thought that was funny. Humanitarian, progressive, reformist, idealistic, concerned, politically active, cause-oriented, radical, revolutionary, utopian, impractical, pseudo-liberal. Now, these are some interesting terms, these, you know, and I'll show you something in a minute that I came across on some of these terms nowadays. Not what I remember some of these. Anyway, innovative, inventive, original, unique, unusual, eccentric, bizarre, shocking, intuitive, attuned to the universal will, self-willed, confuses own will with the greater will, determined, resolute, stubborn, inflexible, and fixed, independent, freedom-loving, intolerant of restraint, lawless, uncommitted. Those are pretty good. And this one was a book called Planetary Aspects from Conflict to Cooperation. And this one is talking about T-squares in people's charts. So this was part of talking about that, the opposite part of the T-square, you know, then you got that, you know, the square, boop, 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 boop. So that was pretty interesting. I like those adjectives. Gives you just, they were pretty good. All right, so let's carry on now. Moon. Okay, so we got it as the moon. What's happening in people's moon? Your moon is just as the moon in the sky governs over the nighttime and all that hides in the shadows, so does the moon sign in astrology. That is to say that it relates to a more private and emotional part of yourself. The moon represents the mother maternal energy in our charts. It represents our desires, our emotions, our memories, more things that we internalize and don't show to others. It's more the intimate side, your vulnerable parts, your emotional intimacy, deep-rooted feelings, and sentimentality. It's more about the shadowy parts, the parts that only the people closest to you get to see. So the moon sign tells us a lot about how one processes emotions and gives us a lot of insight on how someone functions intuitively. Lunar energy can manifest in very different ways, depending on the elements of your, where everything else is. Water moons are very empathic and need emotional validation. All right, so let me read that again. Water sign moons, those would be like, a moon in Pisces, moon in Cancer, moon in Scorpio. They're more empathic. They feel a lot. You can't get away with anything because they feel it. And they need emotional validation. They can get gaslit a lot, but they still feel, and they see through that. All right. While Earth moons generally find comfort through financial security or chocolate. On the other end, fire and air sign moons generally feel happiest when they're free of responsibility and able to be their true selves. I know that's true for me. I got Aquarius moon, so that's like, whew, yippee. All right, so we'll go on to the last one, and then I'll show you something else. Okay, so now, well, before I move on there, so your moon side, and this is kind of contradictory, like almost on Aquarius moon, because it is so aloof, that those terms that I think that we were finding, that I just read from Tracy Mark's book, Planetary Aspects from Conflict to Cooperation. What she was saying, some of the negative sides of these are almost kind of like the lunar side, abstract, coolly logical, intolerant of intolerance, rebellious, kind of eccentric, shocking, stubborn. I definitely think that's a lot sometimes on the moon side of this energy, because the moon is belongs to Cancer, that watery, receptive, and with the moon in Aquarius, we've got that cold out there. Like I know the moon is and these are all planets and stuff, but just that it's not that warm, kind of nurturing energy. It's that that mental part on an emotional lane. There we go. So you're traveling in emotion land with intellectual glasses on, kind of, don't really like to feel. I'll just analyze everything emotionally. I don't have to deal with it, All right, ascendant rising. The rising sign in the chart was on the horizon the moment you took your first breath. And it's one of the most significant areas of a chart. And unlike your sun and moon, your rising sign isn't a planet or a luminary, sun or moon, of course. The ascendant is the point where the sky meets the earth. And it's where the sun rises each day. I love that. It's the point where the sky meets the earth. So you look out in the horizon, you see in the morning and look to the east, whatever sign, or if you get your cell phone with your app on it, you can look and say, oh, look at there, Aquarius is rising. So you see that right where the sky in that earth. Anyway, that's very poetic. I thought that was cool today. So that's where the sun rises every day. That's where everything rises. Everything comes up over that. So we'll get that back in our heads when we look at the charts again. Hence the interchangeable term rising sun. While you may think your sun sign is the most obvious in your personality, the version of you that people see at first glance is more likely to be explained by your rising sign. Rising signs can be the mask we wear when we first meet someone to protect our inner selves. Maybe we don't want them to know that, you're an exacting Virgo, maybe, or, maybe you don't want somebody to know that you're a loud Leo, or you don't want somebody to know you're a pioneering Aries. We know that. So it also gives information on self-awareness and how one adapts to new surroundings. The rising sign or ascendant is the part of ourselves we show to the world. It's the face we wear for others to see and view. Your rising sign dictates the part of yourself that shows up immediately on the surface level, such as how you appear to others, how you react to things off the cuff, how you relate to other people, especially socially, and your overall demeanor. It even symbolizes the body, its appearance, and the persona. We show off more of who we are by our rising sign, meaning people pick up on the characteristics of the sign more than any other elements of the chart. Rising signs may represent the more superficial part of your personality, but there's still a key ingredient to the cosmic blend that is uniquely you. All right, that being said, it all depends on what they are. I have both fire on mine. I've got a Leo rising and an Aries sun. So they're pretty similar. So they're going to come off. There's not going to be a whole lot of difference on that. I know somebody that is Capricorn rising with Gemini sun. They're going to appear very responsible at a young age, mature, but they're going to be a goof, a flake, can't hold it down. Maybe in Gemini, you're not going to see that yet. It's like, yes, and all of a sudden, kind of energy. All right, just give you one example. Let me get you back to the screen. I got one more thing to show you. I think I got it. Okay, this was an interesting article. I'm just going to show you part of it. Aquarius in the age of right and left wing extremism. I'll send you this article, but it's very interesting. I don't want to say I agree with everything, but it's just a very interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. What did I want to show you? Okay, here's what kind of, again, this dichotomy that we've going on right now. Saturn, the conservative, they're lumping it with right wing, and they're making these things, more exemplified right now because because we have so many things in Capricorn and Aquarius, including Pluto, which is, finishing its tail end, going through Capricorn, going into Aquarius. So a lot of this energy is just shaking stuff up. We've had this square, that's been going on, with this, Uranus on one hand and Saturn on the other. We've got, that headbutt of this exact energy. But I just want to point out a couple of things here. And they start talking like what a conservative person, a traditionalist, a conformist, a right winger. This is pretty interesting. And then here, Uranus is the reformist, the left wing agenda. But you're going to find, got a liberal, a progressive. See, we got a progressive again, a dissenter, an agitator, an activist. We got all these words that they're kind of defining. I thought it's kind of interesting. Just a very interesting article, but I just wanted to show you that how these things are really coming up into the foreground. This is getting the talking points of this. So to hammer this home, and then we'll look at a few charts. Uranus, we've got that blend, as you're probably seeing, of this sudden, this extraordinary, this tower card kind of energy, this disruptive, but yet needing structure and keeping the structure and keeping things because of that fixed quality. It is a fixed sign. So it is going to hold on to what's true. And one of those first paragraphs I gave you was holding on what's true and what's right. It's got that mental quality, that air quality that can discern and not just base things on raw feelings. So it has a lot of analysis and weighing of options and thinking about the group and the whole and the entirety, and can then get rid of all the crap in the closet and the drawers and all the stuff that's not needed and just go, that's all useless. but this is good. I like this. That'll work. So that's how I think this embraces both of those signs as the ruler of Aquarius, and how we can look at its fixed quality, but yet its air quality at the same time. So both of those natures, you know, the fixed air are again that expansive, contractive, that hold on to that. And again, if we look at the, you know, the medical body parts, that's the return, you know, of the blood. You know, it's like expands the other parts going out, and then it has to rule coming back. So that being said, I think that's all for that. And then we'll go look at the charts. So I'm going to stop recording and go look at charts. See you next week. You guys stay here, but I'm going to stop this. Stop recording.